Yeah, that's what I have.
All right, I've been informed from our audio-visual wizard that we are up and running, and so I will call this meeting to order. A little late, 7:05. The legal voters of the Cavendish Fire District Number 2 are hereby notified and warned to meet on the Cavendish Volunteer Fire Department at the Cavendish Volunteer Fire Department Fire Station on Tuesday, May 17th, 2022 at 7 p.m. to act on the following articles. Article 1, to hear and act on the auditor's report. The position is currently vacant. Article 2, election of officers. Current officers are moderator for 1 year, Abraham Gross, Prudential Committee member Stu Lindberg, up in 2022. Prudential Committee member Scott Graney, who is up in 2023. Prudential Committee member Bob Evans, who is up in 2024. Article 3, the election of Prudential Committee members follows as follows: tax collector for 1 year, treasurer for 1 year, currently Maureen Savage, clerk for 1 year, currently Matt Seaton, auditor, currently vacant. Article 4, to see if the legal voters of Cavendish Fire District 2 will raise money and in what amount for the purpose of defraying expenses for the year July 1st, 2022 to July 30th, 2023. Article 5, to conduct any other business to come before the meeting is proper. All right, that's why we're here. So Article 1 is to hear and act on the auditor's report. The position is currently vacant, although you do have a report in front of you. I would particularly entertain a motion to accept the minutes that are printed in the report, just so that we have an action at this meeting regarding the last meeting. But you can do what you'd like. But I think it's important to at least have some continuity from one meeting to the next. That is what actually happened.
I just want to clarify, are you asking us to accept the minutes or the auditor's financials?
So it is to act on the auditor's report, but we do not have an auditor, so we do not have an auditor's report technically. So there's only so much action that we can do on that, but we can decidedly take action on the minutes, and we can also we can act on the auditor's report as well, and ask those questions and those sorts of things that is in the report that you have.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
It does, but I have a comment. It's not about the minutes.
Well, wait, before we have a comment, before that was a point of order, and so we still need a motion on the article as it was warned in order to take action. And discussion is action.
Yeah.
So I am looking for a motion from someone. We have a motion to accept the auditor's report in total, or just the minutes?
Well, you read, you wanted the minutes.
Okay.
There's no auditor's report, so.
Okay.
nothing to-
So we have a motion to accept the minutes as published. So that's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. I just, for everyone who may pay attention to other meetings that get run, we are operating on not Robert's rules for small boards. We are operating with a second. However, I will let you remain seated and raise your hand to be recognized. Although when you speak, I will ask that you stand up to speak and address everyone and try to speak up loudly. And I may ask that you come up here so that the recording can get you. But I know that that's been an issue for some folks with hearing issues is speaking loudly, and you speak louder if you stand. So we're just to be sort of procedural.
Can I request that anybody who speaks identifies themselves for the minutes?
Absolutely. So anyone who speaks will rise and state your name for the purpose of the minutes, which is traditionally it is part of Robert's rules. So now.
Oh, the minutes?
Do you have a question or not about the minutes?
I have a question about the auditor's financial report,
Okay,
but not about the minutes, except I'm wondering, Brendan McNamara is the current tax collector, and I believe in the minutes it states that, but we've got it blank. Tax collector for 1 year under Article 3.
I believe that is has been the habit, is to always put it down as the tax collector, parentheses, whoever is currently the town manager.
Yeah. But it is in the minutes from last year.
Right.
That he was appointed.
Yes, there's nobody, you're right, there is nobody mentioned as that he's serving. It's the ex officio, out of the office of town manager is the tax collector. I found an old report where Millie was the tax collector for the fire district. I don't think she was ever the town manager, but anyway, neither here nor there. All right, so yes, thank you. Are there any other comments on the minutes? If not, I would ask permission to speak from the chair to address the minutes if there's no objection. Again, under full Robert's rules, I would have to step down and somebody else would have to do the chair. Under Robert's rules for small boards, the chair can speak from it. If there's no objection, I can speak from the chair. All right, I want to apologize because I made a mistake last year. The large section of discussion on starting on page 3, well, actually, I may have started before, starting on page 2. But Rolf's motion to amend the budget, which he clearly stated was to jumpstart, I think it says, the process to merge the districts, was not germane, and it was an illegal consideration of a motion. I should not have done it. Blessedly, there was no action taken on it, so we were not in violation of the law. But the function of this meeting is, for the fire district and for the next year, perpetuating the fire district. There is no mechanism at this meeting to cease function or end it or anything else. That action was not warned. What was warned was how much money are we going to raise. And so it was not germane. I made a bad judgment. I was wrong. I'm sorry. I will not let it happen again. But I wanted to let the record show that I believe that action was not proper. If you think that the judgment of the chair regarding this is wrong, you are free to object and raise your hand and petition the chair and vote. And I will nominate whoever makes that petition for the moderator position. So you feel free to, but know that I think it was not germane and not legal. All right, having said that, I'm done speaking from the chair.
Which paragraph are you referring to, Abe?
All right.
You said starting on page 2,
Yes.
3.
So, so
I'm just trying to follow.
No, absolutely. It's the third paragraph on page 2, starts there. I recognize Rolf Van Schaik. He made a motion to amend the budget to $36,000. That type of motion was not, it was not a valid motion. It was not a legal motion. It was not germane to the question that was warned. And so everything that follows after that, again, blessedly, the motion didn't carry and we didn't find ourselves acting on an illegal, ungermane thing. In the same way that if you warn for spending money on a dump truck, you can't say, well, we should buy a pickup truck. That's not germane. It has to be on what was warned, and this meeting is for the perpetuation of the district. So that's my opinion. I think that with the way to, point of order. I think the way to handle it is when we get to the budget question. I definitely want you to amend the budget if you don't like a number that's in the budget, but we go line by line and not do it as a slab. so as to avoid that mistake. You know, that if there's something that you think is out of whack, we should spend more money or less money on, that's fine, we want to do that. I love the participation of the population in our fire district, but we want to do it in a way that is germane and legal. All right. Anybody else want to speak to the? All right. Hearing no more discussion, the motion before you is to approve the minutes as published. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Nay. We have one opposition. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. Now is the time, if you don't think that the ayes do have it, you can call for a division of the House and we will count in some way. The ayes do have it. It carries. All right. Any other, so that's the one motion. Do we want to make a motion or a question about anything else that is published? If you have, you know, we can do it because it was warned. We did part of it. We can do another part of it. You know, move to accept this as, you know, a true copy of the finances for the district. You know, that would be fine, but it's not the auditor's report because we don't have an auditor.
Do you have to move to adopt it?
You
Some accept it, some accept it and adopt it.
Right. You know, we have this. It's helpful if this meeting says we are going to take this and this is what we are going to work from. Is that your motion, Raymond? Nope.
Just asking the question,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you need a motion to approve the auditor's report so that we can discuss the finances?
If
That page.
Yeah, somebody needs to accept this, and, you know, in order to have a, you know, and again, this is not the auditor's report, this is the report of the treasurer, right, the financial statement, because we don't have an auditor. But if you want to help fix that, there's an opportunity in a little bit that you can do that.
I'll make a motion to accept the
The
auditor's report.
the financial statement that we have here,
Yes.
as a report of our finances. We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Raymond. All right. Any questions or discussion on this that anyone would like to talk about?
I just would like to, Diane McNamara, I would like to point out.
Diana, I'm gonna have you stand up and turn and face most people.
You're supposed to address the board.
Yes, yes, you can speak to me, you're supposed to address the chair.
Okay.
You can speak to me, but yelling at me.
Yeah. So, for those of you who have the report, it's the back page that I'm talking about, and it's this middle section that reports the year that we just reviewed, July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021. And it shows the amount budgeted at 108,498. But the budget for that year was reduced by the truck fund, and the budget was $86,504. So it doesn't result in a surplus of $30,588.05. It might be a surplus of about $9,000, but I just, if this is the report that we're voting on, it's incorrect, and it wasn't warned correctly, so I'm concerned about that.
Okay, well, so what, and I can't sort of tell you what the numbers are, but I think that there is a way to, again, because we don't have an auditor, it's not an auditor's report, but we can sort of set what we believe the numbers are at this moment, and I believe Maureen Savage would like to speak to this. Maureen, come up this way, please. So we'll amend it, and then we'll approve.
So Diane, you're correct. The actual amount was $86,353.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
$86,353.
The amount for what?
Well, that was
Budgeted in?
budgeted in for tax. The $22,345 came from the truck fund.
Right, so
Okay.
the amount that we voted, and I calculated the taxes on, was 86,504.
Okay?
Yeah. We might be
There might
off
be a
$1,000.
discrepancy there. But yeah, $22,345 came from the truck fund,
Right,
okay?
yeah,
And that number stayed in there just because it was in the proposed budget as the amount being spent. Being a new treasurer, I wasn't aware that I should have taken that money out and allocated something somewhere else in some account.
right.
So having the 2 EMT salaries, that was the reason for using that truck fund money there.
Right,
And that is part of the budget. That is part of what, it was a $43,488 number. So only allocating $22,000, how do I split that?
right.
So the number stayed.
Mhm.
All right,
I
so,
understand what happened. My issue is that people read this, they received this report, there's a warning period, and they didn't come to the meeting because you've got a $30,000 surplus. Why should they care?
right, so I believe the proper action at this point would be to amend this report at this time, and I think you're making a motion to amend it.
I am not
Okay,
making a motion.
well, in which case, somebody should make a motion to amend it, so that it becomes the official record of this meeting. Because again, we don't have an auditor, so there is no official record other than the minutes that we're taking and approving. At least that's how that's how I understand the situation that we're facing.
So everything here was referenced from the budget that was approved, which, that's in my opinion, that's the amount that's spent, not the amount that comes from the taxpayers. But again, I'm a new treasurer, so I don't know how that works. And that wasn't,
Believe me,
again,
I made plenty of mistakes as a treasurer, there's no doubt about it. However,
Hold on one second.
you have to speak?
Absolutely. Well, wait.
Please.
Wait, you want to, well, no, I just wanted to sort of be clear on what we're doing, because they're going back and forth, and I think that it's fine, but I just want to have everyone, because I see people trying to figure out what's going on and what are we
I
doing.
can give you the math. If
Right.
you want me to stand up and give the math, I can do the math.
I trust the math,
Yeah.
but the action that this meeting is doing is the auditor's work, because we don't have an elected auditor. And so that's what's going on here when the treasurer and Diane are talking, and I just want everybody to be clear why we're letting this go on. That's why I wanted, so absolutely, continue.
I want to say, I'm sorry you don't have an auditor, but I think you still have to put out an accurate financial report to the voters, and I know mistakes happen. I mean, I've made some losses, they haunt you for years. But what we're showing is that the amount budgeted in this middle column from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021 was $108,498, and what was spent was $78,000, and it reflects a surplus of $30,588, and that's not accurate, and that's what people are basing decisions on. Why bother to take out EMTs? It's almost covered with the surplus. It's just not accurate. And it wasn't warned properly.
And I believe that the legal responsibility by statute for that is on the auditor. And because this body has not elected an auditor, this body has to do that work at this meeting. That's my understanding of what's going on.
Betty McEnany, why would you not postpone this until you have an accurate report?
Because we have never, in the past 10 years, we have never had anyone who was willing to be the auditor in order to do that work. And so what we have done is gone along and tried to do the work from this meeting because this is when we have anybody to be able to do the work. You know, that's how I understand it.
If nobody
Right,
else-
Carl wants to
Yeah, Carl Snyder. Well, if nobody here wants to be the auditor, can we just hire one, hire a CPA? Yeah. I mean, it's obviously we get it done and be accurate that way.
I believe that that would have to be done as a budget item, and,
Sure, it could be done as a budget item. Yeah.
It can be done under other business.
but not under this.
As a matter of fact, why are we required to have an auditor? Is it a state requirement or is it? Okay, so we've not complied with the state regulations and we're in violation of it.
All right, sure.
Actually, we should be, every municipality over $100,000 should be audited. And I don't know, maybe Diane knows what the years, is it every year, or is it every 5?
Well, an in-house auditor, for example, Pete LaBelle, just retired as the town's auditor. And we're going to either need to find somebody who will do that, or we're gonna have to hire a CPA, Vermont certified, to do an annual audit. Yeah, which is a very expensive.
I would suggest under other business that we spend the money, and this isn't a motion or anything, because we're not there yet, but I have no problem hiring an auditor to go over the books of the department.
So I will, just as a point of order, I will say that under other business you couldn't, but under the budget, then at that point, somebody could add a line in for an auditor position in order to put it in there. Are there other questions about this report? Is there a motion to amend the report to reflect our understanding of what the actual finances of the district is? All right.
I'll make a motion to amend the financial report for the amount budgeted from July 1st, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, from $108,498 to $86,540. And I don't have the 90 out to it. I think that leaves a surplus of $88.94, but I haven't done I'm
All
not
right.
doing the math right now.
All right, we have a motion to amend the report to reflect what we think the actuality is. Is there a second on that motion? To amend. We have a second and a third. All right, would you like to speak any more to your motion?
No.
Okay. Would anybody else like to speak, would anybody like to speak against the motion? Would anybody else like to speak for the motion? If there's no one else who wants to speak, all those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. All right, so it's been amended, it still has not been approved. We can still discuss and any questions and those sorts of things.
Could I just make a comment? I wasn't on the Prudential committee at that meeting, but I was asked what the balances were from maybe the previous year. And I know it was voted to reduce the budget by the amount in the truck fund, but it doesn't show in the minutes that I believe.
Okay,
And I'll say the amount that was voted was $22,193.
okay, so that adds up.
Yeah.
All right. Any other discussion on this?
So the way I understood it last year, we exchanged the truck fund for the cost of the salary for the 2 EMPs. I didn't believe we were getting rid of the money. I thought we were using the money in a different way.
All right,
That's my whole statement.
all right. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, the motion as it has been amended is to accept the financial statement as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. I think that's all the, unless anybody wants to do anything else under the auditor's report warrant article. Thank you both. All right. Election of officers. The moderator position, it's a one-year position, and I currently hold it. Is there any nominations for moderator?
Nominated Dave Gross.
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Anyone else, please? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. I am your moderator. I think this was, well, anyway. I'm trying to figure out if we do, yeah, I think we should do the tax collector, treasurer, and clerk under Article 2, unless there's any objection to that. So I'm doing it by unanimous consent. Unanimous. Tax collector. Who would you like to have be the tax collector for the fire district? Again, traditionally, it is the town manager, whoever it is who holds the position of town manager.
I make a motion that we keep it as the town manager.
We have a motion to have it be the town manager. Is there a second?
A second.
A second. Is there any other nominations? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. Town manager. Treasurer for 1 year. It's currently Maureen Savage.
I nominate Maureen Savage.
We have a nomination for Maureen Savage.
Second.
Second, with a bunch of people seconded. I think they don't want the job. Is there anyone else who would like the job? We will have a vote. Diane's got her box ready and everything. All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Clerk for 1 year, currently served by Matt Seaton.
I'll nominate Matt Seaton.
We have a nomination for Matt Seaton. We have a second by Margot. That's how your friends are. Anyone else? Any other nominations? All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. The ayes have it. The ayes do have it. Auditor, currently vacant.
I nominate Diane McNamara.
We have a nomination for Diane McNamara. Thank you very much.
Second.
I think we have more seconds. I think we have a majority of seconds. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Yay.
Don't want to just point mistakes out, you know?
I appreciate that. We appreciate having mistakes being pointed out, but we appreciate somebody stepping up and saying, "Let me help." Are there any other nominations? All right. All those in favor of Diane, please being the moderator or the auditor. I almost got you. See, you can do better, Kevin. Being the auditor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those, that was loud. Anyone opposed? All right, the ayes have it. All right. Article 3, the election of a Prudential committee member. And so the person who is up is Stu, the 2022.
I have a nomination.
Okay.
I'll nominate Stacy Bishop. She is a paralegal Vermont State Police dispatcher and a longtime EMT. She's not here because she had to go to her job at the Vermont State Police Barracks. But I would like to nominate Stacy Bishop.
So we have a nomination for Stacy Bishop. Is there a second to that nomination? We have a second from Jay Naru. Are there any other nominations? Crickets.
Nominate Stuart.
We have a nomination for Stewart. Is there a second? Michelle may come, have words with anybody who has a second. That nomination fails, John. Anyone else? All right. All those in favor of Stacy Bishop being the Prudential Committee member, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. All right.
So I have to step down from the table because I'm no longer a committee member, but if you have questions about anything, I'll do my best to answer.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you for your service.
You're still a committee member for June 30th.
Am I really?
That's right. Terms of office are July 1st to June 30th.
Ooh, okay. Thank you, Bob.
Question?
Can I make a motion of thanks to Stu Lindberg for his service on the Prudential board?
Sure, it's not valid under Robert's rules, but it's a nice sentiment.
I have a question.
Yep. Is it a point of order or a question of privilege?
I have no idea. Cindy Fitzgibbons. Article 2 said election of officers, and there were certain ones listed. And Article 3 said election of the Prudential Committee members, and there were officers listed that weren't Prudential Committee members. So was this meeting properly warned? Those articles were pretty confusing.
Right, so they were pretty confused. So this is a point of order.
Okay.
Thank you. So if you notice, before we voted on those other things, I asked everyone here about voting on those things, and Matt, I made the point to have Matt put it under that it was a unanimous consent to do it, which then makes it that it is a after the fact approval of the warning because it was warned. There was the slight technical spacing question mark that the unclarity was addressed by this meeting by handling it in the way that we did. That's the point of order.
I don't believe you asked people. I believe you told them and just did it how you did it.
No, I did ask if there was any objection, and there was no objection, which is what the definition of unanimous consent is.
It wasn't clear.
All right, well, I'm sorry I wasn't clear. Next time, I would welcome you to take my job. Please, please. Anyway, Article 4. To see if the legal voters of Cavendish Fire District 2 will raise money and in what amount for the purpose of defraying expenses for the year July 1st, 2022 to July 30th, 2023. We need somebody to make a motion for some amount, and then we can and seconded, and then we can discuss it.
Move we accept the $107,350.
We have a motion to accept $107,350, which I believe is the amount on the right-hand column. Is there a second to that amount? We have a second from Jay Naru.
I second the motion.
We have a second from Lori Lindberg. Sorry, Kay, you got bumped. All right. Is there any discussion on Bob, you made the motion. Would you like to speak to your motion? Would you like to speak in favor of it?
You can't operate on less money than what we're doing right now. So I'm in favor of the $107,350.
All right.
Everything is going up. Look what the price of gas is. Fuel oil is $5 something a gallon, and it's not going to go down this year, so. We're lucky if we do it for 107.
All right. Is there anyone else who would like to speak to the motion? And again, this is the time where if you have a line that you want to change, if you want to add something, you want to subtract something, you make that now. Hold on.
If memory certain, like, you can't vote by line, it's only by total.
That is true, but we can amend it by line. You vote on a total number, but you can vote, or you can vote a particular, you can discuss and amend by a particular line. You are correct, though, that it is by the, that's a point of information. Raymond?
Question, we have an auditor. There's no auditor over here in the budget, one item to pay the auditor.
That's a very good point. Is that a motion to amend? Because I believe that position, the stipend for the auditor's position went away some years ago, and so it would be appropriate to put it back in here if you want to make a motion to amend.
Could I amend it so that you take out second deputy chief and put auditor in there with the $300?
Second that.
Yeah, we don't currently have one and we don't.
Right, you could either do it as two or you can do it as one. I'm going to say that you could do it as one. Is that your motion, Raymond?
Yeah.
All right, and I believe I heard a second from Stu.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second. So the motion is to amend the budget by adding, well, no, it's not to change the bottom line, but it's to put the second deputy chief $300 at zero and insert an auditor position under, well, probably above treasurer at $300. Is that correct, Raymond? That's your motion to amend? Would you like to say anything extra to your motion? It's pretty straightforward. If you don't want to, that's fine.
30 years ago, I audited them for $75, I think.
How much was gas then?
Probably $1.49.
Yeah. All right, anyway. Anyone else want to speak to the amendments?
If my memory serves, there was only $100 in the budget ever for an auditor. And if we're going to eliminate the second chief position, you have my resignation.
Okay. So you're speaking against the motion?
That's right.
All right. I believe it's, to be clear, it's not eliminating this deputy chief's position, but it is eliminating the salary to the, all right.
And he's worth more than the auditor.
All right. Diane, do you want to speak in favor of the motion, or the motion to amend? Or do you want to speak against it? If not,
I think I want to amend the motion.
well, you can't right now. So the motion is to amend, and it will either get voted up or down, and then we can amend again, and amend again, and amend again, but we can't amend an amendment. You want to speak? Yes.
Yeah, Mike McNamara. I'd like to, I don't know how to even go about this, but I'd like to make a motion or that we put money back into the truck fund somehow. Because I think it's really unfortunate that we've depleted the truck fund. So.
Okay, hold on to that thought. Let's deal with Raymond's motion on the auditor and the deputy chief position, and it's the second deputy chief position, right? The second
You
deputy.
said take that out of the budget. I didn't say you had to eliminate the position. You take that out of the budget and put auditor.
Right. I got Carleen Glidden.
Yes, Carleen, I have a question. Didn't you guys just say that you don't have a second deputy chief anyway? So,
Not currently.
right, so can't we take it out of the budget and then when you get one, if you do, put it back in? Works for me.
I don't actually, because you'd have to be spending money that you hadn't budgeted, and where would that money have come from? So I don't think that that is possible.
You could put it back in the next budget year.
Right, in the next year.
That's what I'm asking,
Okay.
if you don't have one, then you're not really eliminating it.
Right.
It's actually kind of following.
Yeah, you are correct, Carleen, that you could add it in next year, you couldn't add it in this year.
Right.
Yep, absolutely, that is correct.
Discussion?
Yes, we're in discussion.
It may help, that I don't expect to be paid $300 to be auditor. If it's normally $100, that's absolutely fine with me. So, just so people, when they vote, know that, have that information.
So I think you're speaking against the motion, because you want to change it to $100. Maureen?
I would forego the treasurer stipend because I haven't taken it. So if it's a necessary thing to keep that, to keep Diane as an auditor and also keep it in there as a second deputy chief, then that's what I would like to make a motion to do.
All right, so I'm not going to recognize you for the motion, but I think your sentiment and your discussion has been clear. Is there any other discussion on, and again, remember, we're going to vote up or down on this amendment, and we can make another amendment if this one should fail or this one should pass, we can make another amendment. Bob?
I'll withdraw my objection. I was thinking that Abe was the second assistant, so she can
Okay. Sometimes I feel like the second assistant. All right. Thank you, Bob. Again, there still seems like there's a discussion around some numbers and how much, and again, we can figure that out. Is there any other discussion on Raymond's amendment? Go.
Jason, it sounds like we want to maybe not necessarily adopt the exact motion, but maybe re-look at it in a different way, like she was saying.
So vote it down.
Right, we have to.
Okay.
If you don't like the amendment, vote it down, we'll fix it, we'll vote on another amendment. Is that clear? Do you need me to restate the amendment, Margot?
I'm just saying, can we call for the vote?
Okay, let's not have it be that way, because that's a 2/3, we gotta vote to end the vote. So the motion to amend right now, the amendment as it is right now, is to strike the $300 from the second deputy chief and to put $300 in an auditor line. That is the amendment. Is that clear? All those in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, the nays have it, and it does not pass. Now, if you do not agree with me and you want a division of the House, people to stand up and actually count and not just go on my ears, now is the time to request division.
I request a division.
Okay, we have a request for a division of the House, and all those in favor will please rise. And I'll count. I'm not voting, I'm counting.
2, 4, 6, 8.
So this is in favor of the amendment. I can see people hopping up and down and okay.
If you're in favor of the amendment.
If you're in favor of the amendment, please stand.
Can you
Okay.
please clarify the amendment?
The amendment is to strike the $300 from the second deputy chief position and put $300 into an auditor line. Okay? All right. And if you're in favor of it, stand. And you were standing before. Are you standing now? Okay, so you're voting in favor. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Margot, you're standing. 11. Maya?
I'm standing.
You're standing? Okay. 11, 12, 13. So 13 in favor. All those opposed, thank you. All those opposed, please rise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, All right, it looks like 15. So, it was close, it was good use of division in the House, right? It was not one person, and your chair's ears were good. All right, the motion fails. To amend it, the amendment fails. It's a motion to amend it. Now, would you like to make a different amendment? Chair recognizes Michelle Lindberg.
Michelle Lindberg, I would like to amend the auditor position to be $100.
All right, so you'd like to add in an auditor position for $100. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
We have seconds all over the place. All right. Is that clear? What the motion, to the amendment is? Is there any discussion? You want to speak to it? Yes.
It makes sense.
Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Is this audit coming from when the last audit was done?
I don't know.
We have all the records, every last one of them, every receipt.
Yeah. This money would go to pay the auditor who would serve and do, well, we elected her, so she will serve, and do her auditing. Is there any other discussion of the amendment? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it, which does change the bottom line to 107,450. So you have amended the main motion. We are now back to discussing the main motion, which is the entirety of the budget. Mr. McNamara, if you wanted to make a motion to add in a truck fund line, now would be the time that you would make that amendment.
Yes, I'd like to, in the amount, I have no idea. I'd also like to say sincere thanks to the volunteers here, everybody here, but I have concerns that we're not putting anything into the truck fund. I don't see how, and I'd like to hear from the Prudential Committee, their reasoning why that's happening. I don't understand it. It's quite concerning.
I can speak to that. Just this weekend, I was away at a fire training, Twin State Mutual Aid up in Haverhill, New Hampshire, and there was probably 20 different trucks there of varying ages, and I mean, my feeling about it is a new truck is $500,000, a new one. I mean, and I'm not opposed to buying a used one if you can look it over really good and look at the service records and but the cost of a new one, we could put $20,000 a year in, and we would be a long, long time before we could buy a new truck.
I've been paying fire taxes here for over 40 years.
Yes.
And it was always a comfort to know that there was something going in for repairs and for whatever, truck fund repairs.
Yes.
And now it's Zippo. And I don't understand how that management can continue.
We have a truck maintenance budget that we are utilizing, and we've done a lot of deferred maintenance in the last 5 years since I've been here. As far as tires, our vehicles are tested every year by Dingy. The pumps are tested, they go through them, we get a yearly service on them. And actually, I'm not opposed to putting money in the truck fund, not at all. But that would be up to you and the taxpayers. I have no problem with it, not one bit at all.
Yeah, because we depleted. It's all been depleted to have 2 EMTs, which is a good thing. But at the same token, when something breaks, I mean, so I think we have to plan for the future.
All right, all right. I saw Margot's hand.
I'm gonna do this so you can hear me. I have been really, really concerned after last year's meeting. It bears very much on what Mike is talking about, but it was also raised by Peter and by Rolf. And I met with Becky, and we did a run sheet review, a very intense run sheet review on EMS only. And that's because I worked and have worked in EMS for years, and I did a huge amount of research. The vast majority of your calls, if I'm correctly, are EMS related. Correct, Becky? Becky's nodding yes, for the record. What is concerning to me, and are we getting our money's worth for Becky and Joseph? Absolutely, because we did everything, and by the way, I'm covered by HIPAA, so I did not look at these run sheets. Information, Becky looked at them, we did severity on every single one of them. We only did July through parts of January. We found at least 4 times when having these EMTs made a difference in outcomes. No, you cannot put this on Facebook. What was amazing to me is that you are going for another increase in, she has to go, but they are going for another upgrade. Some of the ambulance response times when they're coming from Londonderry or Chester or wherever, it's really concerning. And I almost think there needs to be some discussion and funding, more than a truck fund, but a vehicle that can do medical transport. And that's a conversation for another time. If you want to have a truck fund and put money into it, please, we have to really consider medical transport, because they are there often way before Ludlow can get there, let alone Londonderry, let alone Chester. You can't put any of this stuff on Facebook. You can't talk about the saves you make in this fire department, which is really an EMS division. It doesn't work that way. I love what Bobby does on the Proctorsville site. That's great, but you can't do that for EMS. But people need to understand these guys are really there and they're making a difference, and we all need to know it. And if we're going to fund and put money aside, can we start having that discussion? And I would also love to see what they're providing here for the whole town, because it's really needed. This is a really serious issue. And it dovetails into what Mike is saying, but with you're going for an upgrade, correct, Becky? Did you talk about that? Yeah. So they're going for another upgrade. You know, Becky's an EMTA. We are so fortunate to have them, and they've been an enormous help through COVID. We have the lowest rate of COVID in the whole Leukemia Valley, and it's partially because they were willing to do vaccine clinics. They're willing to entertain things like, you know, be the help until the help arrives, and these types of things. So when we talk about trucks, is it another firefighting equipment when Proctorsville really has gear, does a great job? Can that be more fire rescue for the town? Can we look at this place being the EMS division? Because that's what we're going to get to anyway, for the simple reason we don't have a young population here. We are not going to get the volunteers. So let's get realistic about planning for what we do need versus what we think we'd like to have, because the reality is in 10 years, who's going to be running these departments? We're all going to have paid and stipends for our volunteers. I mean, that's just the reality. It's going to cost us more in the long run. So do we start building that cost in now with a truck, potentially medical vehicle? So that's my 2 cents.
All right. Thank you, Margot. You almost made me regret not starting a timer, because there's a 10-minute debate limit on each thing. And I know, because I started a timer for myself lots of times, as anyone who has seen a school board meeting knows. Mr. McNamara, you had a question that you did not know an amount. In order to make a motion to amend the budget, you need an amount. I will point out that it used to be $15,000 a year.
I would like to make a motion to make it $30,000 a year.
All right.
For truck fund or truck maintenance.
Okay. Well, wait. Truck fund?
Truck fund.
Okay. All right, so we have a motion to amend the budget to include $30,000 for a truck fund a year. Would you like to speak to your motion?
No.
Okay. Is there anyone who'd like to speak against the motion?
Is there a second to the motion?
Oh, thank you, Madam. Wait, is there a second?
Question.
You have a question? Let me see if there's a second, because if there's not a second, then we're back to discussing the argument. We have a second. Thank you. What's your question, Becky?
Anything to do with this? Can I shut the base? Well, it's completely.
So that's a question of privilege. Is there any objection to shutting the doors?
No.
All right, yes.
Thank you.
Well, in which case, that's a question of privilege. Can we open the window? Is how that is. All right, Isabel.
I have a question. So is there a separate truck maintenance fund and then there's a truck fund for new vehicles? Okay, that's good to know.
Yes. All right. Is there anyone who would like to speak? Jay, I think you wanted to speak. Yes.
So if we were to add a truck fund, would we add that additional amount to our existing budget?
That is correct. That's what the amendment is. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? All clear on the amendment? We're voting on the amendment at the moment. All those in favor of amending the budget to add $30,000 into the truck fund line, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. All right, so we now are at 137,450. That,
I would just like to make an amendment to that is for a truck / medical vehicle, medical rescue vehicle. I don't know how you want to word this, but the last thing we need is more fire trucks in this town, but we really need to look more at medical, and I would hope that that's.
So Margo is asking to clarify that she definitely wants it to include medical, a medical vehicle or something, or at least the possibility of that. I think that motion is not proper at this time, although I will point out that we have used truck fund money to buy the rescue truck, which is primarily used for medical purposes and such. I think it's okay. I don't think it would be an appropriate motion at this time.
Currently the newest vehicle in the fleet.
Right.
It's a 19 right now.
Yeah. All right. Raymond.
Personal opinion, this is fire. And ambulance was handled by the town.
All right. Any other discussions? So the section we're in right now is the discussion on the entirety of the budget as amended now. Is there any other discussion on that? Any other things that you?
I just have a question, just for clarification. Once there is that monies, Margot, gets allocated to something, what is the process for that? To buy a new truck, is that something that's made by the Prudential Committee? Is there a special meeting warned for the town? How is that allocated? So there is
Does anybody remember how we done it before? It's been a while. Chair recognizes Bob W.
Usually the Prudential took your chief and potential board if they wanted to buy a truck or not. That's usually got to go through the board first.
But it goes to the voter ultimately, right?
Right, when it's all said and done.
When it's all said and done.
When you get your truck.
Yeah.
And you're looking at probably 700,000 plus now for a new truck.
If it's a fire truck.
Because the price, we're checking into one, and the prices are going up every 30 days. And right now, you're looking at 450 days to get a truck.
Yeah.
They can't get the chassis or the parts.
Does that answer your question, Maureen?
Yeah, it was just a general.
Yep. All right.
Will you restate the amendment, please?
Well, so the amendment passed, the $30,000 added in. So right now, we're discussing the budget as a whole. The bottom line is $137,450 that's the amended amount. Again, if you want to make an amendment, now is the time to do it. Is there any other discussion or amendments or?
Discussion.
Okay.
I don't have an amendment, but I need to point out that Ludlow Ambulance this year has raised their fee by $25,550. And we were talking about upping this budget to $20,846, and now we're talking $50,000 from the previous year. And I know this is not to disparage the emergency service personnel and the EMTs. I appreciate you, and I respect you for the job that you do. But we're talking 108 calls in a year, and I'm wondering how many of those take place between Monday and Friday, 8 to 4.
I can tell you the time period I did. For the time period that I did it, did you include that data in the report?
Do you have some kind of a log that shows the times?
Yeah, we did that. We ran that number. We ran that data. And
right. And how many were between Monday and Friday?
The majority of them were in that time frame, but they also, and I think we logged 37 calls. 31 of them required a transport. And,
which we can't do.
Pardon me?
Which we can't do.
We can't do, but if you need to have an airway started, they can do the ABCs, which is the difference between a live patient and one that you're transporting that isn't.
So are you saying that there were 37 calls between Monday?
There were 37 calls between July 1st, 2021.
Let her, you asked the question, let her.
And I don't have my data sheet in front of me. There were 37 calls between where they were both toned out. They were toned out here and they were toned out there. And that was only between July 1st and towards the end of January. Where the biggest part of this really comes in and where you have issues with the ambulance is when chemo is in full session, and that's like February. I don't have that data, and that's important data. But more than half of the calls were the times when they were on, and these were calls where they were there. Now, they both respond on off hours.
Half the calls were during the
time
time
they
period
were
of
here.
Monday through Friday, 8 to 4.
It's actually Monday through Saturday.
No, I'm talking Monday through Friday.
Well, yeah, but we have coverage on Saturdays.
We did.
Or you did. That's why she's saying that.
Yeah.
Not to argue, just trying to clarify.
Yeah, okay. I just
All right.
question the Ludlow ambulance and the EMTs, and I'm wondering, is there something we can do to be able to transport and eliminate Ludlow ambulance at some point? Or
That's my,
not saying eliminate EMTs, I'm just saying,
So,
what needs to be done?
Becky, why don't you speak to that?
would be very, very expensive. I'm not saying I'm against it. It would be very, very, I'm sorry, I squeak, I apologize. It would be very, very expensive to have an ambulance here. I'm not opposed to it, but just keep in mind that it is a huge,
So it's a
huge
cost.
cost.
It's an issue of
A
cost.
brand new ambulance is the same, I mean, it's not quite the same as the nanny truck because there's less.
Probably looking for
It's a
100,000,
smaller,
but maybe
yeah, it's a
new
smaller
ambulance,
vehicle,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not cheap. And
So
then-
it's not something we have in planning
Right.
to do.
And then all the equipment that you have to put on
Yeah.
it is even more expensive, and now they're requiring for all new ambulances have to have this power load system, which is, the cot is at least 10 to 15,000, and then the system that loads it is another 20,000 at least.
Okay, so cost prohibitive.
Yeah, I'm not opposed to it, but it's not
All right.
really that cheap.
Well, Jay, I have done, go ahead.
So I just want to offer a little bit of input and it addresses your question in a certain way. So we are a non-transport medical service. For anybody that doesn't know, I'm a state certified first aid CPR instructor. And one of the primary things we talk about is the chain of events. And the most important piece of those chain of events is in the first 10 minutes. And that's where our biggest asset is we can be there in a very short period of time and begin immediate life-saving procedures long before the ambulance has the ability to get there. Like she had mentioned, we can start an airway, we can start CPR, we can start all these immediate life-saving procedures right away. And that makes a huge difference when it comes to really saving people's lives. And then the ambulance itself, as Becky says, is such an expense, not just in the truck, the people, the supplies, but also a lot of the supplies are dated. So we have a truck full of supplies and the next year they're out of date and we have to get them all over again. And it's a whole big thing. So where we're at right now as a town is actually really pretty good. And a really big advantage we have over a lot of our surrounding towns. Because a lot of surrounding towns don't have what we have here. So I'm pretty proud of what we do here.
All right, Maureen, I thought I saw your hand.
I just wanted to make a comment, just more of a thought for growth and future. If moving towards being a transport EMT service, that may also include being able to bill insurance companies and recouping some of that money back, which would help pay the staff and the truck, et cetera, et cetera. So don't know anything about that, but just, you know, if you're going to work towards that, that's something that could help.
I don't have an issue moving towards that, I just,
Yeah.
it's a process.
If you'll, I will set a timer for myself. If you will let me speak, I'd like to make a comment. Is that all right? Any objection? There's no objection. All right, I got a timer going. I'm not gonna talk.
How long?
Yeah, it's a stopwatch. It's not going that long. I know that there have been at least 3 calls this year when either every ambulance had already been used or was used at the call for Springfield, Chester, and Ludlow. Bob was on one with me that the ambulance was coming from Londonderry in a snowstorm. We are very, very thin in terms of EMS coverage in our area. And there have been a number of times where we have been giving oxygen to someone for 30 minutes before the ambulance shows up. And those people are walking around today because we had people there who were licensed and trained and we could provide that medical care. It's, you know, it's not, yeah, anyway, that's all I want to say about that. 1 minute, 5 seconds.
Can we maybe make a committee or something that we can look into it?
You certainly could, but not under the budget.
No, I'm just kind of putting it out there.
All right, so let's get back to the budget, because this is good discussion and useful and helpful, and I think, but let's talk on the budget.
I just want to make a comment. I follow the rescue squads where I used to live. They're all got 300,000 plus budgets. They charge 3,000 to 8,000 per call, depending on what the call is. So you're talking about one great big bundle for a rescue squad. Huge.
All right, thank you, Bob.
Once again, why couldn't we talk about this with combined departments?
Absolutely.
You know, and the last meeting I attended last year, I was told that Proctorsville will be toned out on any structure fire that Cavendish. And that doesn't appear to be the case.
But that's not budget related.
First off, I just have to get that in budget,
Okay.
because that's not the case. They are, they've come.
We had a chimney fire.
Yeah, and that would be
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, well, that'll be other business, wait a minute. All right, budget.
Oh, thank you.
It's fun sitting up here, I can see everybody's faces when certain things are mentioned.
Quick question on the fuel. I don't know when you
Betty,
guys,
can you stand up and yell?
I don't know when you all did the budget, but needless to say, fuel prices have increased substantially since then. What's that gonna do to the budget?
That's a great question.
Did you bring him along for that?
I don't know that it's been addressed.
The question was, when did we come up with the number? my bedtime. You know, she was asking when we figured out the fuel prices and what that is, and I'm looking for the line. I see diesel fuel.
Fuel is very top line.
Oh, top line, there it is. Anyone want to speak to that question?
I just took a delivery for 300 and some odd gallons, and it cost me $1,996.
Whoa. How are people gonna pay for fuel?
All right, Stu, you want to speak to it?
Yeah, right now I'm going through a rather arduous process. The state has allocated $43 million to municipalities to weatherize municipal buildings. And along with Peter LaBelle is helping me through this. We have to go through the Regional Planning Commission, and I've had one estimate already to insulate the building, which has no insulation. And from talking to different people, it could potentially cut our fuel bill in half. It would include blowing foam into the roof upstairs, the third floor, because the whole building acts as a chimney from top to bottom where the heat just gets sucked up, and there's no barrier up there. And so I have an energy audit scheduled this Friday for Efficiency Vermont. And they're coming along with Vermont Foam Insulation, so I have this in progress, and whether I'm on the Prudential Committee or not, I'm going to see it through, and hopefully we can procure some funding to get the building insulated, which would really make a very large difference in our fuel consumption. And it's long overdue, and I'll take the hit for not starting it when I got on the Prudential Committee 5 years ago, but it's something that needs to be done. So hopefully that'll help.
I've got the last report from the trade that shows their total cost for fuel oil from October to April was $7,500.
Does it say how many gallons that was?
It doesn't total, oh yeah, it does. 2,286 gallons.
So 2,286 gallons of fuel oil.
At $6 a gallon is more than what we got.
So that, if you want to do the math and you want to make an amendment, now would be the time to make the amendment. You won't have calculators everywhere you go, my math teacher told me.
Can I ask you a question of Stu?
Sure.
Stu, what's the likelihood that you'll be able to get that grant?
I don't know. I mean, it's the federal government, and they're short-staffed. It's also the state government. I mean, it's a problem. Yeah. I mean, so I don't actually know. I mean, I'm assured that the process, once you get moving, goes along okay. I mean, one of the stipulations was that we have to have high-speed internet access, and we have to have a room for telemedicine, which we have both right out by the bathrooms there, and we have to be handicap accessible. However, there are variances allowed, and we have money from an ancient grant that's in the fire, it belongs to the fire department, not the district, and we're having a ramp designed for the side of the building, which will be ADA compliant, at least to the bathrooms.
And can then that person get from the bathroom to the room for the internet for a telemedicine appointment?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
I'm sorry.
If the person using the ramp, can they get from the bathroom to the internet room?
Oh, yes, yeah, oh, absolutely, yeah, I mean, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's right there, and you know, we just give them the passcode, and, I mean, I don't know if it would get utilized. I mean, one of the big problems in talking to the legislators and the different people I contacted is about half the buildings in Vermont are not ADA compliant, which is in municipal buildings. And I mean, you know, if you want to weatherize an old town garage, who's going to really go in there and use an old town garage for telemedicine? You know, it's not really, so they make these laws that are somewhat, you have to jump some hoops and talk to the right inspector, I guess.
All right. I think I saw a hand from Betty.
I would make a motion that you add at least $10,000 to the budget for your diesel, for your fuel oil and your gasoline.
So we have a motion for $10,000. To add $10,000 to the fuel oil line.
Fuel and gas.
Okay, so you want to,
You could spend it like diesel.
so fuel and diesel, she wants to add $10,000, but we sort of have to have a specific amount. Let's say 6,000 to fuel oil and 4,000 to diesel fuel. Does that sound reasonable, Betty?
That's fine.
Okay. So we have a motion to add $6,000 to the fuel oil line and $4,000 to the diesel fuel line, for a total of $10,000 added to the bottom line. Is there a second to that motion? We have a second. Now we can discuss it. You want to speak to your motion, Betty?
I think it's better than running a deficit.
All right. Anyone want to speak against the motion? Since it doesn't look like, Betty, or Evelyn.
It's not really the motion, but what do we do with the $6,000 or whatever it was? Is that going to be added to part of our budget, you know?
Right, the $6,000 that this amendment would add to the...
No, that wasn't, we didn't have $20,000 extra. We only had $6,000. What's happening with the $6,000?
Oh, the surplus.
What was thought to be the surplus money?
Surplus from last year, yeah.
Let's try and figure out if we actually had a surplus. It's a good question, Evelyn. Did we have an amount of surplus, Maureen?
Based on my calculations, and the new auditor can probably help with this. Diane, you calculated roughly 6,000?
I came up
Because
with
I had 8.
8,894.
I had 8443.
So I haven't double checked.
Yeah, so I have like 8,400. So that's what we're showing from 2020 to 21.
If you do the math on this section of reporting, 86,504 minus 77,909.95.
Okay, so I'm glad you brought this up, Evelyn. And if that money could be used to go against the budget if it's there, but it can't be determined at this meeting because that has to be warned separately because that's how that works. So what we would have to do is at this meeting, we set the budget, and then we would say, yes, we want to spend that extra money for something else. If everyone here is in agreement and will show up to that other meeting, you could set the budget lower and then at that meeting designate that money to go towards fuel over cost. That would, so you would vote, Evelyn, you would vote against this motion so that it would not get added in here and it would get added in at a later time. Is that clear? Okay. Anyone else?
I would withdraw the motion.
Does the second also, Mike, will you also withdraw your second? Okay. Then the amendment is withdrawn. Okay. All right, so we're back to the budget. We don't have the amendment gone, so the number is 137,450 is the motion in front of us.
So, I'm sorry, is it Betty that withdrew her?
Yep, Betty withdrew the motion and Mike withdrew his second.
Okay.
I have 137,450.
I had 140. 47.
Minus the 10.
Minus the, you added another $10,000 in, and that motion did not, that amendment did not pass, it was not acted on, so it's 137,450. Okay. I think we're doing okay. Any other amendments? All right, so the question before us is to approve the budget of 137,450 as we've amended it. Is that clear? Any questions? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay.
Nay.
In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. 137,450 is the amount that needs to get raised by taxes. All right, to conduct any other business to come before the meeting. Margo.
I would like to follow up on Becky's comment and make a motion that we form an EMS committee to talk about, to making sure our town, and I mean the whole town, so this would include Proc as well as here, that we can start really meet patient need. Is that accurate, patient's need? How do you want to word this, Becky? Because we have a real need. I think we really identified a number of issues when we did the ambulance run sheet, and
I just think it's a concern
for the whole town.
multiple people.
Yeah.
This should be a town meeting, not fire district.
Right.
Well,
I don't disagree with that either.
Well, at least we could start it within here.
Right, but I don't disagree with Raymond because the ambulance part is actually.
I don't necessarily know we have to start right off saying we've got to have an ambulance. I think it's more, what are some other things that we can do, like the things that we've talked about, the until the help, you're the help until the help arrives, and, you know, teaching the community, because nobody shows up at any of these events without bystanders, right? For the most part. But teaching Stop the Bleed, because we certainly saw that as an issue. But Stop the Bleed, you have a CPR instructor. We should be doing CPR in town. We can dovetail this through Cavendish Connects. We can really promote these things. Same goes for fire, which Proctorsville does more of. But we definitely need to, we're skating on thin ice with EMS. When you start looking at the times and you see what's going on with Vail, yeah, we can't have hours before somebody shows up, an ambulance showing up. I mean, this is great that you guys can do CPR for an hour. Not ideal. Not ideal. And, you know, Golden, that first 10 minutes, as he's talked about, so we need to address that. Even if it just starts here and you make invites, that's great.
all right. Any other business for this meeting?
I'll move we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn and a second. It's a non-debatable. It was moved by John Turco, and I believe it was seconded by Bob Glidden. It's non-debatable. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please signify by saying nay. Hearing no opposition, the ayes have it.